Well, welcome back to the Patterns of Evidence Foundation, and we are in an exciting discussion about the Mount Ebal Curse Tablet and what happened when this news was given out to the world, and how did the archaeological world respond to this?
Well, normally you don't do a press conference before your academic publication is prepared. We felt like we had no choice because it was really my fault, but I had released photos initially of the outside of the tablet, not realizing that there was text on the outside. And as people were scrutinizing these photos, smart people like Peter and others began to recognize proto-alphabetic text, and they were attempting to decipher it. It was at that point, we were already in the midst of our collaboration, that we realized we had to have a press conference and make this announcement, which we did at the Lanier Theological Library. We had initially several million viewers, maybe 7 million. And now that this has gone out into secondary use, it's so hard to track this, but maybe 25 million or so, maybe even 50 million people have seen this and heard about it. And of course, the academic paper is now complete. 2 months ago, we submitted it to Archaeological and Anthropological Sciences, and we are now in that waiting period in the peer review process.
And how long does peer review take?
It can take as long as they want, but it's generally 1 to 4 months in my experience.
Did any archaeologists of renown say anything about this?
Sure, Peter.
Oh, yeah, of course. The problem naturally was that all that they saw was a line drawing of the divine name. The line drawing was very schematic, and some people then started criticizing that and said, well, it's very unlikely that you will actually be able to see that inside. They're just actually grossly exaggerating things. And in the end of the day, when the scans are shown, made public, which we couldn't possibly do so because this was a contract with the University of Prague that we were not supposed to do so before the technical article is published. They said, well, once these images are accessible, then the whole theory will be torn apart. But how can they know? They haven't actually seen this material, and it took us really literally months, and Scott already said that. Sometimes day and night we worked on this material. So how can these people within one day make up their minds to see what is actually written here? It will take them equally as long to go through this, and we're not claiming that every single letter must be correct. Maybe 1 or 2 mentions of the formula are only partly there or whatever. Not necessarily that the final word has been said, but we're quite sure that the formula is there. When people start criticizing this thing just on the basis of a simple line drawing, then this is not a very scholarly approach. At some stage, finally, people did realize, who were more open-minded. They said, let us wait. We know who is working on this material. We give them a fair chance, and we have to wait until the article is published, and then the evidence will be there on the table.
Yeah, and it's been overwhelmingly positive, Tim. There's a few critics that got out in front of themselves and sort of painted themselves into a corner. But really, you had an overwhelming positive response, and now people are waiting to see what's going to be out there. And I have to tell you, we grappled with this too, because our reputations are on the line. I mean, we had to know, and this is why the importance of 2 epigraphers, and then I had to agree with what I was seeing too. And if we're saying that something's there that isn't there, Peter and I are not spring chickens. We've spent our lives building a reputation and a career that matters.
Yeah, well, that is true. But it is exciting, Peter, what you're seeing as an epigrapher is you've seen these inscriptions for a long time. You recognize what you see, and you haven't seen that combination before like this. And so there's something very, very promising, I think, about this. Like I said, it's one of the biggest discoveries because of what it does to the world of biblical archaeology. I've been considering making a film about higher criticism and how biblical archaeology turned on itself, why it did. But it has a lot to do, I believe, with chronology and with misstating things and then not finding anything there, you know. So if you're looking at 1200 BC and this is happening in the biblical date, people ignore it, right? Theologically speaking. Let's just talk a little bit about that when we come back next time.